Welcome to the Brave Family Podcast, episode number 6. Today we're going to talk about the gravitational pull to let your kids become the focal point of the family. My name's JJ Rosner. This is my beautiful and very smart wife, Shishelle Rosner, and we are here with the Brave Family Podcast because we believe that you can have the greatest family, the best family, the family that you've always wanted. We want to help you have that. What's up, girl?
Hey, well, great families start with a great marriage, and that's really a foundation
that's a bar
of what
right
we're going to
there.
talk about today.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you there. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just saying our topic today is we're going to talk about strong marriage and that gravitation to pull you away from your marriage for the sake of those kids, man, they're needy and they like to pull on you. And that's even with legitimate needs, not to mention all the rest of it.
Oh, that's exactly right. But I like the way that we wrote this down because it is a gravitational pull. Like, even when you feel like you have a strong marriage, there's always this pull to try and make the kids the center of the universe. Like, I can't remember where we got it, but the analogy was of our solar system, of our galaxy, right? Where there's a sun in the middle of it, the rest of the planets revolve around it, and how the marriage is supposed to be the sun, but so many times there's this gravitational pull to make the kids the sun that the rest of the family revolves around.
Absolutely.
And that really creates some unhealth in not just our kids, but also in our marriage relationship, right? Because at the end of the day, them kids are leaving.
That's right.
Right? Like, they're going to move out of the house one day, and then it's just going to be you and I. We're going to be left. And if we don't figure this out early when they're small and in through the teenage years and stuff, when they leave, that's where empty nest syndrome comes from, right?
Exactly. When our kids were little, we shipped them away to the grandparents for a couple weeks in the summer, and there was a brand new parent who said, "I cannot believe you are sending your kids away for 2 full weeks. I mean, is that even ethical?" And I was like, man, when you haven't had a break in 5 or 10 years, you come back and talk to me. But they said, "What are you going to do with all that time?" I said, "We're actually going to practice being just married."
Being married, being in love.
Practice empty nest because we don't want it to hit us hard. And so we're preparing for our future. That's
right. And so within our marriage also, I think something that we have learned how to do. We definitely didn't start doing this, but through some good mentors speaking into our lives. I mean, listen, you have to have some good mentor couples, by the way, that can tell you the truth about when stuff in your life is a little out of balance and out of whack. I mean, that's really helpful.
It's so powerful to have somebody just a step ahead of you who's just out of the woods that you're getting ready to step into, but it's still fresh enough that they remember all of the nuances of that season. They can really speak wisdom into your life.
Oh, for sure. And so for us, we had a couple that actually told us, like, hey, if your marriage isn't strong, you're not going to be strong parents and your family won't be strong. So what does it look like for your marriage to actually be strong? And not just between us, but that our kids know that our marriage is strong.
Right. And, some of that is just around the idea of how you talk to one another, how you honor each other. Or, this is so funny, kids, man, they're so smart and they like to pitch you against each other. And it gets worse if you're divorced. Then they really pitch you against each other because children, from kind of the time they're born, they're kind of looking for control. I think that's just a gravitational pull from people. They like to get their way. We all like to get our way. But
for sure.
But kids are like that.
Absolutely. I say this all the time. If you were to take an iPad screen and attach it to somebody's forehead, it'd be on the Me application 24 hours a day, right? And that's just a fact. But when your marriage isn't strong, listen, we always think we're fooling our kids or we're tricking our kids, that we're keeping stuff from them. Because they live in the same house as you, they know everything that's going on. I've had an opportunity to be a part of some family interventions with spouses that were alcoholic or things like that. And it's amazing how they always think they're hiding the dysfunction from the kids, and the kids, they're the first ones that come out and say that they know what's going on. And so when your marriage isn't strong, trust me, even though you think you're hiding it from your kids, they know it. And when they know it, it's a little bit like sharks with blood in the water, right? They smell it and they'll start to use it to their own benefit. Not always, but that does start to happen. And that's just a byproduct of your marriage relationship not being strong. It's got to be strong. Your kids have to know that their relationship with you is number 2. behind your marriage relationship. Now, I mean, we're people of faith. So for us, our relationship with God and the way that God responds, Jesus responds to our family is really number one.
Yeah.
Shachelle and I, our marriage is number two, and our kids come in third place in that equation. But it's important that they know, because I want my kids to sleep well at night knowing that mom and dad, even though we're not perfect,
right.
even though we fight sometimes,
We are committed to each
yeah,
other.
that we're committed to each other, that we love each other, that this relationship is strong. And when they leave the house, go to school, when they go to bed at night, when they go stay overnight at another friend's house and observe somebody else's marriage, that they don't have to worry about where we're at.
Right. They don't. No, it puts security in their heart, knowing that they can trust us, that they can settle. They don't have to be worried. You know, they hear so much at school, like, oh, my friend's getting a divorce. This is going on. Is that going to happen to me? And a lot of times kids don't share really the depth of the turmoil that's kind of rolling
That's really
around
true.
in them. And so to be able to see mom and dad interacting in a loving way, where we're laughing, we're affectionate, we're having a good time, the kids see that, and it just quiets the fears in their heart.
Let's unpack that for a minute, because I think allowing our kids to see the love between us, not just us, but you as well, but allowing your kids to see the affection between you two is really important.
It is important.
Listen, let's talk about that for a minute, because there's been times in our relationship when we weren't always getting along well.
Right.
And so we weren't showing affection towards each other and how it affected our kids. Or, I mean, we have friends, and there's a lot of examples out there. Maybe you're watching this and you're like, my husband and I are not, or my wife and I, we're not very affectionate towards each other in front of the kids. Well, you have to know that now you're modeling what their marriage relationship is going to be like in the future, because they're going to follow your example, and the health of that affection that you have towards each other is going to be paid forward into your kids and their relationship. So talk about that for a minute.
I read a book a long time ago. I don't know if you remember it, but this book that I read about parenting said, if your toddler doesn't see the parents interacting well together, then they'll wake up in the night to check on you.
Ooh.
And so if you have a kid, and you maybe just test this out for yourself, if you had a kid that's sleeping through the night and then suddenly they're popping up in the middle of the night, they're coming in your room, maybe just step back for a moment and take that opportunity to say, how's our dialogue? Are we being critical of one another? Are we being short-tempered? Are we being kind and affectionate towards one another? And so just to maybe pull back and do a little coffee date with your spouse for a couple of days in a row, where your kids have an opportunity to observe you interacting in a very intentional,
totally.
Positive way.
And here's the test. I think that this is a test. We've seen this a lot, especially when our kids were younger. I mean, most of our kids are, our kids are grown at this point. But here's a test. Maybe you can try this out with your kids. Especially when they're little ones, like, under 5 years old, under 4 years old.
Because when they're teenagers, they'll just call you on it.
Yeah,
They'll
right.
just
So,
be like,
oh, gross, mom, dad, go
why
get
do
a
I have to be
room.
nice
I don't
to
want to see
you?
it, right? They'll give you the hard time around that. But when they're little, when you go to hug each other, embrace each other, kiss each other, if it triggers your kids, like they start getting upset and yelling at you from across the room, or running and trying to separate you and break you guys up, man, that might be an indication that you've kind of made your kids, that
Right.
gravitational pull,
Yeah,
they've become a little bit... They've kind of taken a step up in their
It's true.
priority in the relationship. Yeah.
And so it's easy to correct. Just sit down, have a cup of coffee with your spouse, and say, "This is our time." Face to face. Kind, a short conversation, 10 minutes, and then if a kid comes to interrupt you, hey, it can wait 10 minutes. If there's no blood, it can wait 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's just letting them know that I am prioritizing my marriage right now. And so that when you go on a date, instead of the kids getting crazy, flipping out, they'll know, like, oh, this is important to them, and they're better to me when they're better with each other.
That's right. So, if the problem is there's a
Right.
gravitational pull towards making the kids the focal point of the relationship, of the family, then the solution to that is really having a strong marriage relationship. So
And also, we want to model that friendship so that it can carry into their relationships. I love Kevin Leman. I enjoy his books. He writes a lot about family and parenting and marriage. And he said, hey moms, if all your kids see is you slapping dad's hand away, and he comes in for the kiss or for a little pat on the bottom and you're slapping his hand away, well, that instantly kind of solidifies in the kids, when I get into a relationship, boom, I need to have my guard up. I need to have my walls up. I need to be slapping that affection away. Yeah. Well, of course, we're not going to be inappropriate with our kids, but we do let them see the laughter and the affection and the friendship that we have.
Yep. So let's give you a quick next step, something that you can, a practical next step you can take. One, have the coffee time, right? Do the little coffee
powerful.
date. Do that in front of your kids, right? That's something you want to do in front of your kids to establish the fact that, hey, mom, dad, we have a strong relationship. We love each other dearly.
And we also have a gentle boundary that you don't get to dominate us.
That's exactly right. But then second, though, what's something practical that we can do away from our kids to help build our relationship that's really easy? And one of them is something that we've done for years, and we haven't always been as consistent as we'd like to be. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
But having some sort of a regular date night where we just get a chance to go out. So many people, they want to have a date night, but they just don't make it happen. Listen, let this be your next step today, okay?
Right.
Go have a date night.
Yeah, I think
you have permission. Get you a babysitter.
It's true.
Leave those kids. Get away and enjoy each other.
Hey, and dates are expensive, but divorce is more expensive.
Ooh,
just a daily coffee and a weekly date, and really what that is you're buying yourself insurance for your marriage.
That's exactly
and it's
right.
worth it.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money.
You don't have to.
Right? But the time has to be intentional.
Yep.
Right? Anyway. Listen, I hope this helps you today. Make your marriage relationship number one today. And if you're watching this today and you're a single parent or you're in a blended family situation, listen, we're going to do a podcast about that in the future so that you can build a strong family culture, even though you have a blended family or you're a single parent. We're for you. We're behind you. But moms and dads, if you're watching this, listen, your relationship is number one. And that will translate into health into your family culture.
And you'll sleep better at night.
That's right. We love you. We're for you. We know that you can have the best family. You can have the family you always wanted. And if you need a resource to help you, go into the show notes, click the link that's there. We created a family culture framework. It's free for you. We just want to help you out, resource you to have the best family that you can. All right. We love you. Have a good one. We're praying for you because we know that God can move and do great things in your life.
That's right.